Welcome to Business Rockstars. I'm Alex Wehrley, joined by Jesse Golden, founder and CEO of The Golden Secrets, for a Powerista interview. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So it's been several years since we last chatted.
I know.
And what's cool is you were just starting The Golden Secrets.
I was.
And you're such a good example of your background's in modeling and big influencer, but you had this bigger vision because a lot of traditional influencers, they sell other people's products, but you decided to create your own. So tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, it was actually an accidental business, you know. Like, as you said, I was modeling my entire life, and I was promoting other people's products, and I learned a lot being on that side of things. But I actually was handcrafting my own skincare for like well over 20 years. I started kind of messing with essential oils in high school, and I originally started with a blog called The Golden Secrets, where I just started sharing insights originally into wellness and health. I'm a yoga teacher and holistic health practitioner. And then it kind of naturally went into beauty and spirituality and motherhood. So I was just writing and sharing, you know, originally. And then a friend of mine who I really admire in business said, honey, why don't you, he actually said, darling, he's British, darling, why don't you bottle that essential oil that everyone is always asking you, like what it is, where can they get it? And I thought it was the worst idea, actually, yeah. And then it's really funny, I got kind of protective, and I was like, I don't want everyone smelling like me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, this is so weird. Like, who do I think I am going to bottle this stuff? And then I kind of had this like epiphany that this little bottle of essential oil, as you know, ridiculous as it is, was such a huge part of my life in the last decade. And it wasn't so much, you know, the properties of the essential oil and how it made me feel. It was actually the act of pulling it out of my purse and taking the moment for myself and having that, thinking that it was giving me some kind of tuning in or superpower to like go throughout my day. And I thought, I have to share this. Like, that's what I do. I share what works for me, and this is such a huge part of it. So
yeah, and that's a really good tip if someone's watching or listening and they want to be an entrepreneur, but they're not exactly sure what to do, whether it's product-based or service-based. A good question to ask yourself is, what do people come to me for? And so if people were coming to you and being like, what is that smell? What is that product? And they were so intrigued and wanted to learn more and wanted to use it, that is such a good sign. And obviously, eventually you listened. Promoting other people's products where you don't have overhead and you don't have the operational costs is so much different than developing and operating your own. So tell me about that. What does it take to create a product line?
I have never worked so hard in my life. You know, it really is, you know, I've kind of gotten over the hump, but there was a point where I was like, had I known what this was going to entail, I don't know if I would have dove in. Because it is, you know, it's the whole thing of like, if you're working for somebody else or if you're, you know, promoting for somebody else, there's an end time, there's a clock out. And I'm so driven and I'm so strong-willed and I like to finish things. So that can be really complicating because it's never ending. There's always work to do. So I've had to really work on finding the balance between, you know, my family and work and just like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, I'm done. Even though there's still 9 million things to do, that was a huge lesson for me.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because some of the values we have here at Empowerista are, you know, cultivating that freedom and flexibility and fulfillment that can come from entrepreneurship if you're running the show and it's not running you.
Yes.
So it sounds like you've had to really learn how to do that. Any advice for how to be able to shut it off and prioritize so that you're focusing on the right things and able to do that?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's, you know, my family comes first and my health. And if I don't have those two things, nothing else matters. And I realized that I was the one actually putting all the pressure on myself, you know, feeling like I needed to get to a space. So once I kind of let that go, I've been able to enjoy the process more, you know, with work and enjoy my family more. It's a constant practice. I think balance is a constant practice for everybody, but just being aware of it is the first step.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about your business model, because you don't have a brick and mortar. You obviously have physical products, but a lot of what you do is completely digital. So tell me a little bit about how you actually market and sell your products.
Yeah, well, we're straight to consumer. We are on Amazon Handmade, which is a separate area where it's handcrafted products. But normally everything comes from our website, and like 80% of it comes from Instagram, social media. I had the blog prior to having the product, so I already had a voice, and I think people already kind of knew a little bit about me, about empowering women and self-love and health and wellness and beauty and stuff. So by the time I had the product, it was like, oh, okay, they already kind of trusted me. I see a lot of companies now doing things backwards where, they have the great product, but there's no story and there's no history on it. And I think nowadays people are like really craving, they want to know the history of where a product is coming from and what's the story. And that's really what sells it for me, as a consumer.
What advice would you give yourself to that person that I interviewed a few years ago that was just starting the company?
I wish I would have hired my weakness earlier.
Tell me about that.
I think women, and I think people in general, but women especially, we feel like we can do everything, and we can. But it usually
not without going insane, though.
Yeah, it comes at a cost, And I'm very strong-willed, and I've taught myself how to do a lot of different things in the company behind the scenes, because I just didn't know who to hire. I didn't know where to hire. I didn't find it cost-effective. I didn't understand, And now that I've hired a couple people that are way more efficient than I am at doing.
At what specifically?
Like digital marketing and helping create emails and dealing with influencers and affiliate programs, and even just, I have an assistant now that just helps me answer emails and customer service, and it's those
the admin things that take so much time.
Take up so much time. I think that's. My boyfriend asks me sometimes, like, oh, what did you do today, honey? And I'm like, well, I put out fires for the first 2 hours. You don't realize that these are basic things, So before I even get to my master to-do list, sometimes you put out fires for 2 hours that you don't, expect.
Sure. So how did you find these people?
It's really interesting because I'm a big believer in just kind of putting things out there, and I've met with a lot of people, whether it be, possible partnerships or I've had some interns in the past. These people literally came into my lap. Yeah. Literally just, one girl had come right up to me and said, hey, I'm looking for a job and I love skincare. And this other girl I had worked with, I had done a speaking event that she had put together. And she said, it's so funny, she just told me this now, that she had put my picture on her Pinterest board like 2 years ago on her vision board that she wanted to work with me.
Wow.
And now we're working together. I'm like, I love when stuff like that happens.
Yeah. But it is amazing once you talk about what you're doing, what you need, how that can come back around. So I think the takeaway is don't be shy to tell people what you're doing and put it out there, what it is that you need. And I think hiring can scare people at first because it requires capital to put money forth. But I'm sure that it's also allowed you to make more money because you have the support, and you can start small. You can start with someone even 5 hours a week gives you 5 hours back, So start small and grow as you have. And I'm just so glad that we got to catch up and
thank you so much.
that I got to hear about your success, and I can't wait to continue watch you grow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm Alex Wehrley, and this is Business Rockstars.